reflection of me is molded by your TV screen. I'm not the girl on video, I'm not a bitch or a hoe. I'm redefining what you see when you look at me. So whoa, girl, child, hold your hand through trials. Did you underground so you couldn't be found? I even felt your shoes when they jailed or killed you. I think it's safe to say I paid my dues. Your careless disregard for me destroys the black family. You took from raising our seeds. No one thinks no community. Like man, come close and drink my tears. Hold me tight, cause I fear if we don't fix this now, we never will. So you must how we play. Breathe me, how we play. I'm suffering. How we play. Breathe me, how we play. Don't you remember? It was I who swayed with the beat of the drum, performing an Akibalan dance to uplift your spirit into an ancestral trance. I was the mother and the land, but now I've been reduced and I'm often an object of your angry hands. I survived the middle passage with you, marched in picket lines beside you, endured for you. Don't you remember? Recognize my wealth, because if God made anything better than a black woman, he kept it for himself.
Good evening, family. This is A Taste of the Southwest, and this is Sister YaaYaa. And I'm very, you have to excuse me, there's a lot going through my mind right now. I'm very excited about the show that we have, and I want to thank everybody who's liked or who's friend requested or added Sister YaaYaa as a friend on Facebook, and for your input to even help prepare for this show today. And the topic is, I believe it's what you would call a hot topic. I really think that the topic, which is the state of the black woman, I know it's very broad. It encompasses so many different things. And so this will not be the only show that we do about that. There are lots of topics to hit, and I really want to dig into it so that we all can think critically and look at clearly what's going on around us. And that being said, we're going to talk about a lot of things, and this topic may have piqued a lot of people's interest because we have opinions on what black women do. As black women, we have opinions on what other black women do, and as black men, everybody has an opinion about what's going on with the black woman. And I've heard it said that if you want to get the basic temperature, basically, we want to check the barometer on a culture, look at its women. Look at how the women present themselves. And so we are going to talk specifically about that today as far as black women, what we wear, how we walk around, how we present ourselves to basically the world. Anybody can see us when we go out. So that's what we want to talk about. to be clear, this show is not about woman bashing. It's not about man bashing. And I had even made the point of saying earlier in the week, I'm not a feminist. So any show that I do about the black woman or man includes the black woman and black man. There's no way we can get anywhere without each other. And I love the way Sister Shabazz said it in one of her shows. Healing comes through not this fictional Jesus they gave us, but it comes from the black man and the black woman working together constantly. And that's the only way we're ever going to get anywhere. So just to make that clear. Another thing I kind of wanted to put out there, we of the conscious community have this idea of what consciousness is, what consciousness means. But one thing I would just wanted to draw attention to is consciousness means being aware of what you're doing and what you're thinking and why. It's not just a body of a specific amount of information or certain things that you know or certain authors that you read now and certain people that you follow and lectures you go to. Yeah, we consider that conscious. But when you're really conscious, I always point to yourself first because you start with you and you experience the world through you. So when you know what's going on with you, that's when you're really becoming and living in consciousness. So I wanted to keep that in mind and to prepare everybody today really just to think differently. As black women, one of the issues that people say they have with us, namely black men a lot of times, is we can't be told anything. We don't like to be criticized. As soon as we're criticized a little bit, we shut down. Well, I believe I have some insight into why that is. As a black woman, we've been criticized our whole entire lives. As little girls, we picked up on the cues, even if we weren't directly told, and sometimes we were, you're just not as good as little white girls. Your hair's not as pretty as, your skin is too dark, or we've been criticized and told that we're not good enough from birth. Hearing it, seeing it, images in the media, all of that. You're just not good enough. So when somebody directly comes and gives us criticism, which as an adult, a mature person of some level of health, we should be able to take responsibly and really think about it and say, okay, that may not feel so good. It hurts a little bit, but I can handle that. It was true. We are a little bit debilitated as black women when it comes to that because it's hard to hear criticism when that's all you've been is criticized. So anything that's said today, and even if you feel like you just want to get on and just vent about whatever you feel as far as black women concerned, that's fine. But everybody just knows that the intent of this show is not to bash black women and not to make black women feel responsible for our situation. Now, what I'll say is a lot of the things we've been through, we know enough as a conscious community, and some of us are just learning more and more each day, that the role that, we'll call it white aggression, has had on building us and our community into what we see today before us. We can look at that and see all the things that they've done, and we can recognize, honestly, if we'll be honest, it's not our fault what's happened to us, where we are now, completely. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to stand up, change it, and move forward from the places that we find ourselves in. So just wanted to put that out there. And one other thing, too, sisters, as you're listening, if you feel that cringe and that anger building up and you're like, I can't believe people are saying this about us, and well, what about this and what about that? That's all valid. That's all good. But just keep in mind, a lot of us, too, through being criticized and forced into this not-so-good category, not good enough category, we've been controlled in that way. And so we feel like anybody telling us what to do or suggesting what we should do or inferring what we should do, implying it, it equals control in our minds sometimes. And we don't want to be controlled. Nobody does. And so sometimes we'll just shut down completely. We feel criticized, we feel controlled. We just shut down. We don't want to hear it anymore. We can go off, snap off, cuss people out just to not hear it. It doesn't make it not true just because it's hard to hear. So we just have to kind of toughen up a little bit, sisters, I'm saying, and realize we have these problems. They're not our fault, but we got to do something to fix it. Because, like, we didn't get ourselves into it. We do have to get ourselves out of it, us as a black family together. So that's just a little preface as far as what the show is about and what the show is not about today. And again, as I mentioned, we need to hear from our family. This is not just a lecture on the radio. I'm not interested in it being that at all. Of course, I have my input. I got Brother Laila. He's going to have some input, too, for us. But we've been talking to people left and right, going out on Facebook, whatever the case may be, on their opinions. And it's because we need to hear from each other what's going on with us so we can have some kind of understanding amongst us. So that being said, we appreciate everybody who's listening right now. If you're listening online, we appreciate you. If you can call in to participate at some point in the show, we would love to hear from you. And we want to get in as many people as we possibly can before the show is over today. But the number to do that, if you want to call in on the phone and be in a position to be able to speak your mind, the number is 760-569-7676. The access code is 948-656#. Again, 760-569-7676. Access code 948-656#. And if you just have something, we're going to go down the line eventually, but you have something that you just cannot hold. You just got, that made me think of something, Sister YaaYaa, and you want to be heard. You got something to say. Go ahead and dial while you're listening in on the line. Dial *6 on your phone, and you'll be put into our queue, so we'll know, to stop and immediately get to you.
Okay, Sister YaaYaa.
Beth, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to go on and turn on the Q&A right now so that they can do the *6.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Q&A session started.
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Sister Shabazz. I've been really looking forward to this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and so, we may not even wait all the way until the end of the show to ask you what you think. Be prepared.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
All right.
So,
Shabazz, hello, this is Brother Laila. Just want to say hello to you.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
All right. So, like I said, it's our responsibility as a Black family to help us all get out of the situation that we're in, particularly the Black woman. And one of the main reasons, one thing when you bring up what somebody should do and you shouldn't do this or whatever the case may be, the question is why? If this is me and this is what I'm doing with myself, namely the way I dress. Now, say I like to dress, I'm going to put it out there provocatively. I like to wear tights, I like to have a nice shape, or I like this part of me, or whatever the reasoning we give to wear certain clothes, show certain body parts, a certain amount of skin. Well, who is that hurting? That's my business. This is how I feel. This is how I'm expressing myself. Why does it matter to anybody else? And the answer to that question, an answer that I think is a good answer, is at least, if nothing else, because our children are watching us and they're depending on us constantly. And we are naturally who they're supposed to pattern themselves after. Even if you have not birthed a baby, there are children looking up to us as responsible Black people, and we have to take that into consideration with anything that we're doing and think that we're just making choices for ourselves. It's never that. We know that as African people, we don't believe we're separated from each other. We're not separated from the people who have gone before us. So we're all connected. And so in being connected, we sometimes don't realize how our childhood experiences are connected to us as adults. Sometimes we think we've left that all alone. I'm not in school anymore. I'm not in my mother's house anymore. Whatever the case may be, I've grown up, I'm grown. But the fact of the matter really is our childhood experiences have led us to think and behave a certain way about little Black girls as a Black woman, okay? Or little girls in general, not just little Black girls, but as a Black girl growing up, you get certain cues and messages about little white girls and little Hispanic girls or whatever the case may be. We're learning. And these things settle into us, and then they kind of slide underground, and they're constantly motivating things that we think and feel, and we don't even know anymore. We can't put a finger on it anymore, what it was that did that. So the things we learned as children affect us as adult Black women. And the things we pick up and learn about being a little Black girl, namely, you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. I heard somebody say you're at the bottom of the social ladder. We're always working from the bottom as Black girls. Well, this affects how we, in turn, as grown women, feel and think about other little black girls, including our own. Your little girl, your little cousin, your little niece, your little sister, or whatever the case may be. We have this idea in our heads stuck about what a little black girl is and does. Namely, we learned we're not valued, and we internalize, in turn, that no little black girl is valuable. Other colors are valuable. We get those cues. They get treated better. They get, the better lot of whatever the case may be in most cases, what the messages we're receiving. So I think it means something, and it's worth taking a good, hard look at today. What's going into the choice of clothing that we wear, and the way we choose to present ourselves. Because people, in a lot of cases, about this content, I want to hear everybody's opinion about, what you think when you see a black woman, and we all know, call it club wear, call it whatever the case, whatever you want to call it, but sisters who are showing a lot. And at first you don't really know what other people are thinking, but when you go around and ask, I've been taking like a poll for maybe the past 2 weeks specifically on this. Males and females, what is it that you're thinking when you see this black woman and what you're thinking about what state she's in? It boils down to the attitude that black women have about how valuable we are, about our innocence, about purity, and what that means. Because I love this quote, and I even have a clip of it on the Facebook page of Muhammad Ali doing this interview with this white boy. And the white boy asked him, what is it about miniskirts that you don't like? Like, I've heard this about you before. And he puts it very, you have to see it, the way he put it, because he's a genius at it. But Muhammad Ali says, why would I want my woman out dressed so everybody can see what she has? If she's something that's valuable to me, why would I just put her out on Front Street like that? Why would it be okay to me that any other person, any man, anybody crazy, we don't know what people are dealing with as we walk around. Why would I want everybody to be able to see that? And the point he made that hit me most at home was everything God made valuable, he put it deep in the earth. You had to really work hard to get to it. Gold, diamonds, oil, all these things, you have to work hard to get to them, and sometimes you don't get to them. It takes blood, sweat, and tears, and sometimes you don't even come up with anything. Isn't the black woman then more valuable than gold, than diamonds? If she is what brings life into this world, what the Creator chose to be the conduit, the vessel, thank you, of, bringing life into this world, isn't the black woman at least as valuable to hide what she has as nature does? So that it opens up the door to really question what we're thinking when we put ourselves on Front Street, what we're thinking when we walk around and our children see us this way, because our little girls watch us and our little boys watch us, and people in the street see us. Old people can see you and everything you've chosen to show. And so I know there's a lot of reasons that women give, and I hope that somebody's listening, that wants to be honest, about what's really going through your head, even if it's not popular, even if it's not what Muhammad Ali said. What's going through your head when you choose to wear what you wear? Or have you even put any thought into it? So that gets us really into the question I think a lot of women ask: why should I work to protect a little girl's innocence? Nobody protected mine. I was a little girl, and we don't even have a clear concept of what purity and innocence really is. Just because how over-sexualized the society is, how we're used to seeing little girls or black women sexual pieces of sexual objects just something to get what you want out of, something good to look at, something to watch twerk online, or whatever the case may be. Why is that? And we don't have a good understanding of innocence or boundaries, because boundaries are what you use to protect innocence. And thinking of how to really put it into words, having come from this very same over-sexualized society, it was disturbing to me how difficult it was to put into words why is it important to protect innocence. I understand in my head a little bit, but just to really drive it home to people, it was hard. And I always have to go to nature when I'm trying to find the standard of right. Just how did the Creator do it? Take us out of the picture because obviously we're unhealthy and things have happened that we can't even see and think straight about it. What was nature doing? So I thought about in nature, where as it pertains to sex, this is really what we're talking about. We're talking about dressing sexy. Sexy only means good enough to have sex with. That's kind of what it brings to mind immediately is the act of sex, not the act of marriage, not the act of togetherness and bonding and friendship and comedy, the things you share in relationships. You know, you might be funny, you might have a good personality. Ain't nobody thinking about your personality. And all they can do is look at you and see your physical aspect. So, I thought about the body. Because children, the honest answer is, children are not mature enough in body or in mind for sex. And this really, it comes up as earlier this week, a lot of people saw the article that came out about pedophilia being a sexual orientation that can in turn be protected as they think other sexual orientations can be, such as, you know, homosexuality and all this other madness. They're saying pedophilia is just something that people have also that, they're born with and it should be protected. So, what happens is we find these ways to justify unnatural things. But in nature, when a woman, her body is mature enough for sex, her body begins to change to support childbirth. That's what shapes are about, is to support this big round belly that's going to carry a life for a term and bring life into the world. That's just what it's supposed to be. Boys, if the male is the natural protector, then at a certain age, at a certain stage of development, boys they gain muscle mass in certain areas because they're just naturally just built stronger physically in order to protect the woman and the child, the community. So if we're saying it's okay for children to be involved in any kind of sex and their purity and their innocence is not important, then how come these things aren't in play? How come we think we can overstep the rules of the Creator and say, oh, well, kids, it doesn't matter what you tell them, they're going to have sex anyway. People have some very cockamamie ways to justify these things. And when your mind is not mature, you have no point of reference for what sex is. You hear things as a kid sometimes. You hear people make jokes, adults make jokes, or sadly you hear it in songs or you see it on TV and in movies, these things about sex. When you only hear things and you don't even understand what you're saying, the cue that the child picks up on, I'm seeing, is that their parents or whoever the adult is that's important to that child, they have brought light to something. The kid doesn't know what it is, but that one thing, they want to know. How come that joke was funny? Everybody, my uncle laughed, my dad laughed, my mom laughed, everybody thought it was funny, I didn't get it. But they all laughed, so it's important to me now. I want to be a part of this joke. We're all family here. I want to be included in everything. Let me know what it was about. And so even if they don't go straight forward and ask, and sometimes they do and get crazy answers, but they'll ask their friends or they'll watch TV or these things that they hear about, and we're sending our children out then to people who feel that somehow it's okay to defend pedophilia. These people are sick is my point. So we're leaving our kids to learn from them. And Sister Shabazz, on your show that you did on sexual abuse, I like how you put out there that as Black people in the current culture we're in now, we don't have rites of passage. Can you talk about that a little bit, Patricia Baz, what you think?
Sure.
Or kind of expound on what you were saying there?
Sure. I have to remember exactly, but we don't have a rites of passage where we're taught how to be responsible adults. So a lot of us can stay children all the way until we're 40. We're using our bodies and we haven't developed our minds. We don't know what our duties are. We don't have any racial responsibility. A lot of us don't even know how our bodies work. There's people who actually think that women urinate out of their vaginas still. They don't know it, the basic stuff.
Right.
And it's really ridiculous. And really quick, I'm going to take over your show, but I like the point that you were making about parents sometimes even expecting their children to have sex. Because when I was in high school, we had a program where high school children would go and teach junior high children abstinence education. It was kind of like using peer pressure to give them another option. And one thing, it was a really good program. And one thing that I realized as I was teaching these younger children is they did not feel empowered to say no. There were a lot of them, these were 7th graders, who wanted to say no and not engage in sex, but they felt like they didn't have support because even their parents were saying things like, yeah, you better get her on the pill because she's going to be doing this or doing that. Nobody ever gave them the option that it's okay, black girl, to have virtue. You're more valuable than that and it's okay. So a lot of times we're the ones leading our children into these promiscuous lifestyles.
Right, and that's exactly what I was getting at in saying how you can tell by that little black children, especially little black girls, we're not valued. Why would you expect that a child is already going to have sex? Or like even you mentioned on your show, she was already fast anyway. Wait, why isn't that something that we're protesting instead of just understanding, everybody just going along with it?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. And our behavior and our attitudes do reinforce that. So the kid, and when presented with it, like you said, why would I say no? Who says no? Everybody's expecting this out of me. It's all I see and hear. Why not? And so that really, it brings me to boundaries. The parents don't have the understanding of boundaries, that there is a line. It should be a definitive line between adulthood and childhood. But because we've all come up in this sick society, nobody ever explained boundaries or lived by any boundaries. And the white folks put us in a position where for generations, all boundaries were destroyed. I was thinking about this, a video by Tony Browder and how he went into just the breeding farms and the fact that they stopped bringing Africans into North America after a certain amount of time. And so they started these breeding farms where it was just the job of the slave to make babies, or pups, as they even called them. So, there's no understanding that family means something. It's sacred. A childhood, relationships are important. All that, behind trying to make these packers some money and create more pieces of property to do this for them. And I think we take for granted a lot of times how it's affecting us. Even to today, and the way we see children being parented and the way we're parenting kids, there's no line anymore. And that's when bad things happen. And another thing, like you said, as far as child sex, I think that we need to really take a definitive stance. And it's hard because you have so many skewed notions about things. But it's time that people stand up and say, no, it's not okay for my kid to have sex. A lot of times the understanding is, it doesn't matter. If I tell my kid don't have sex, it doesn't matter because they're going to do it anyway. Well, like you said, Mr. Shabazz, how do you know that? Maybe that child really doesn't want to or has no reasoning to do this. But then what do people do? They go out and put their kids on birth control, and they give them the shot, or they give them condoms, and teach them safe sex by at the same time saying, I don't want you to do this, but here, this is how you do it. That makes no sense. And this is where the role of the black man comes in, because there was a situation, a young girl called me up, me and her have conversations from time to time, and she says, she's 15, me and my boyfriend had sex, and I'm on the shot, my mom put me on the shot, but I'm scared, I might be pregnant or whatever the case may be. And I was one of those people. I was stuck with that destructive, faulty notion. Well, she's a kid, and what are you going to do? Kids have sex. When somebody had to school me afterwards, honestly, I'm being honest, they had to say, wait a minute, child sex is just not okay. Sex between children is not good. And why would you give her or anyone the understanding or the idea that it is? In turn, you put a strong man in line with whoever this boyfriend is who thinks he's grown enough to be man enough to have sex with this little girl. And it was a teenage boy, not too far from her age, but older. You know, put this man in his life and say, listen, okay, you doing this? You man enough? Anything happens, you die. Like, when do we stand up and say, I'm protecting this little girl, not just her purity and her innocence, but she's not going to have sense enough to do that, and she's going to get herself in trouble. I'm at least going to stand up for her life. And you have this man to go through now. And the next time you think about doing anything with this little girl, that boy is going to have the picture of that man in his head, not just, oh, I can be a man and I can do this to this little girl and I'm, playing grown. Now there's a grown person in the way saying, no, that's not okay, and this is why, and you will suffer some kind of wrath behind doing this. So we do need to stand up, I think, and just, okay, be real, yeah, it might happen, but that's why you school your kids. You learn some boundaries as an adult. The truth is we don't have them because people a lot of times weren't healthy around us. Learn something, deal with something, because the kids are growing every day and they're running into all kinds of madness in the streets, on TV, everything. So it just makes sense. And I've talked about this too on the show that we did on From Rape to Wholeness. And I would suggest that people listen to that show as well. Go back and listen to that show. I go really into depth on sexual abuse and things that you may not even think are sexual abuse, which really applies here. And the point of all of that was basically when you take advantage of a child or when a child loses their innocence, nobody's there to protect it. There's some kind of repercussions behind that. The child's power and control is lost. They lost any sense of boundaries they would have, and this pervades throughout their whole life. So a person, an older child, or parents, they use this powerful position of just knowing about sex. They understand what comes along with sex. A child doesn't. So they're taking advantage of the youth and innocence and naivety of this child, and the child's innocence and trust that just an adult around them is going to have their best interest at heart and look out for them, not just try to get something out of them. And what that does is it leaves a rage in you as a child. So I know it sounds like we might have gotten a little bit off topic, but I really think it's worth looking at what's going on behind the scenes. As a young lady said to me yesterday, when you see a girl walking around dressed a certain way or showing a lot, dressing sexy, it's an outward show of an inward problem. We need to deal with the inward problem, because if you change the clothes on the outward part, the inward part is still there. It's going to show in another way. So we got to get to the root of it, as I always say. And the fact of the matter, too, a lot of black women, it seems a daunting process because a lot of people, honestly, they're not virgins anymore. So it's like, okay, you're talking about innocence and purity, and yeah, it's good for the kids, but what about me? I'm lost now. There's nothing left. I've given it all up. And the fact of the matter is there are ways to become whole again, and that's what that whole show was about. And I have some steps towards that that are practical that you can really use to get better, to heal yourself, and to be a good example to these kids coming up watching us. So abuse in essence, abuse is basically destroying and distorting boundaries, and it's destroying innocence. Depending on who the person is doing it to the child, there's no understanding of where is the adult that's supposed to be protecting me from this. Somebody dropped the ball. Whether the parent knew enough to even do it doesn't matter. The child feels let down by a lot of people if something like this happens. And their loss of power leaves them enraged and constantly trying to get that power back. And I'll go into that, I think, a little bit down the line. But let me stop and step off my soapbox for just a second and see if anybody, I'm sure we would have heard, but if anybody's in the queue that wants to say anything, Sister Shabazz.
There's nobody in the Q&A, but there are some people on the lines. We can go on down the line if you want.
Beautiful.
All right. 0222, you're live on War on the Horizon. 0222. All right, I'll assume that you are just listening. Wait. Are you there?
Yes, good evening. I'm sorry. I was just listening for right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you for listening in. All right, and 4517, you're live on War on the Horizon.
I'm just listening.
Okay, thank you for listening. All right, those are all the callers.
All right. Okay. All right. So I want to go back. I don't know how clear I was on innocence. Let me know. Was I clear, or what's your understanding of innocence, and how maybe you can make clarify it? Mr. Shabazz?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to the brother. No, I thought that you were very clear on innocence. I thought that you made a lot of good points. And I think that that's something that's just a given. When we grow up, we see, the white woman is always the innocent one. She's always the princess. She's always the one valuable. And, we're just not. We're not expected to be, for the most part. Maybe our fathers may look at us like that, but for the most part, we're not seen like that. So we grow up and we learn that, that's where our value is. I used to run around in my little tennis skirts and
okay.
Back in the day, 13, 14 years old, because, that's what I was taught was valuable. Not necessarily that I was engaged in those other extracurricular activities, but, any physical attractiveness, that's basically all people were interested in. They weren't interested in my mind or my personality. It was just, okay, well, wear this little Reebok tennis skirt and, walk to the corner store and see how many people are going to blow their horn. And that's really crazy that that's what we think, that that's where we think our value is.
Very true. Very true.
I wanted to step out. This is Brother Laila. I want to step out here, and I don't know if this is a unique perspective on the innocence piece, but one thing I thought about through working through some of the content in the radio show was that what I remember coming from a Christian background was there was something about I'm cringing to say this, but what was given to us in Christianity was that Jesus was this purity and this innocence, and all of our connections were kind of formed through that. Now, some people didn't take the same things from Christianity that others did, but if you did take that, I did take that personally. So one of the things I'm thinking about as an adult and moving out of that kind of model or that paradigm of connecting with life through this religion, I thought about the idea that there had to be something in my nature, so to speak, that allowed that concept to stick to me. The idea that there's something about what I was brought into, the spirituality, the spirit that was brought here as me, in a way of speaking, something about that knew of an innocence, that knew of from a spiritual realm, knew this purity. And then when the words were given to me of this Jesus Christ and all the story and everything behind that, then there was the association, and then possibly just a moving forward into building on that foundation. But moving back to looking toward nature, the idea of it's a little bit, for me, it was a little bit difficult to come up with examples from nature of innocence but purity, so to speak. Maybe thinking of newly growing grass or anything that is or a baby bird or a baby raccoon or whatever you can think of in nature, that they are just so lost without a parent. They're so lost without a guiding substance, a protector, a nurturer. Those two components sort of are pretty big in nature. You've got sometimes they stick in terms of male-female components, but where the protection comes from male, the nurturing comes from female. It's not always the case, but it's let's just for sake of conversation, for sake of words, stick with something like that. You get a nurturing component, and you get a protecting component. And this baby, this child, or this fawn or youth or newborn is solely dependent on these things for existence, not just for happiness or all these words that we've kind of cooked up in our society, happiness or joy or whatever words you want to put to it. They're dependent on these components for its existence. So we're going deeper than just some words about white purity, which was how it was kind of fed to us. So I kind of just wanted to jump into that, because when you move into the child, the adult, the human child, and you move that example into thinking about a brand new baby, boy or girl, and in this case, the show is more geared toward the perception of the child to the mother. So let's go with that and say this brand new baby boy, brand new baby girl, and if anyone's ever held a newborn child, you can get the clear picture that this child is being fully sustained by you, the supporting structure. And if you've ever had that experience, it's clear to understand that everything from this newborn's perspective is coming from you, the adult. So it's a very, like Sister YaaYaa, like you say, it's a very significant thing that we get this problem together, at least moving in the direction of solving it, because life will always come from a child, come from a woman as a child into this life. So for the sustainment of life, we're talking this problem needs to be dealt with. And so moving that nature example into this child, because everything that this child gets is coming from this adult. The perspectives are coming, the ideas of what's right, what's wrong, my sense of self, my very sense of identity, my need for validation, it's all coming from this adult. So let's say mom is dressing a certain way. I don't have to reiterate what you said already, Sister YaaYaa, but maybe I'll stop there and just say that you can see clearly in that example, just stopping at that point, that is going to be embedded in this child watching mom. And it is, since I'm speaking as a man, I'll say, as men, it's important for us to start understanding these concepts so that we can start protecting and supporting the women as they need to, for what they need from us. So we just need to, I just want to say, look, we need to look to nature for examples. Possibly sometimes we need to pray, but we also need to get on that adult side of the line that we're trying to draw between adult and child so that we can be responsible.
And I think those are very, very good points. And they really clear it up, especially when you brought up about how we learn the concept of purity and innocence in the context of white Jesus, white heaven, white angels, white people, white children. It all goes together, purity. That's why it's hard sometimes to find our place in it, because we're outside of that. We've been taught, anything divine is different from us. That's exactly right. Another thing too, where childhood is not really valued, as Africans, of course, we believe that life is a continuous cycle. Let the circle be unbroken. You begin with life in all different facets, short, term as far as in a day. You wake up into the land of the living, you have a productive day, and then you go to sleep and, you wake up to another day. That's kind of a short cycle of life and death, and there's some production in the middle. There's something coming out of this cycle. That's why we're in it. So, as children, we're born into life, and, different phases of our life are different cycles. So childhood is the beginning. It starts. It matures. You learn what you're supposed to produce as a child, or how you're supposed to grow, the things you're supposed to gain and give as a child to life. And then you die out of childhood into adulthood. And then that's why we had rites of passage, to kind of usher us out of one phase into another. And the problem comes when we've been stuck with following white folks. They never really had boundaries and recognized childhood as some form of innocence. And this is the risk that we run, following behind everything that they do and not thinking about what we're doing just because everybody else is doing it and this is normal, the norm of our society, as we say. That just means white folks do it. And if you want to be accepted with white folks, you do what they do. These people had no concept. We've learned through people like the Irritated Genie about how they started in the caves in the hills of Europe, and they just had to eat. This was their main thing, just to survive, because the conditions were so harsh and so bad for them. Sex was just a tool to feel good. The procreating part of it was the negative to them. That's the downside. So they could go to children and down the line, animals or whatever else, to just feel good, get this feel good out of this action. So the child becomes an object of pleasure producing, not some sacred gift from the spirit realm, from the ancestor realm, into this life. So what happens is, following them, and because of them being strapped for money, our childhoods have to end early. Back in the day, I remember my grandmother and them talking about how, the school, if they went to school, lasted a certain amount of years. Then you stopped, you went to work, or you were helping raise the kids at home. Childhood was short because of the strapped position we were in. And now, being spiritually and emotionally strapped, we're dragging our children too fast and prematurely through childhood, and so they experience an early death of their childhood. And I say they, but I mean us. As adults, that's what happened. That's why, as Brother Laila said, we find ourselves on the wrong side of the adult-child boundary line. We got dragged through it. We were exposed to sex early through conversations that people have around us or with us, and like I said, things that people show us sometimes in magazines. Men for some reason think they're making a little boy a man by showing him a girly magazine, and these ridiculous things, and parents leaving porn around the house. Let's really get real with where our issues and our problems are really taking, not us but our kids too. We've all been dragged through this, and we're not allowing our kids to be kids and just mature past where they're supposed to be into adulthood. We have no concept of it. We've got to get one, is the whole point here. So just like we went into abuse and the loss of childhood, for however you want to call it. A lot of people don't connect with being sexually abused, even though that's what's happening when someone's introducing sex to a child. You're molesting them. Let's keep it real and real funky here. When an adult is nude around a child, you're molesting that child. That child did not say, hey, I wish you'd take your clothes off right now. Or, they don't realize that adults are getting some sick sexual pleasure out of this, really, if we be real about it. You have to watch that stuff. And also, just by virtue of the over-sexualized society, this atmosphere that we're in, nudity equals sex. Now, maybe on a continent, people can walk around with all different degrees of nudity, and they have a different kind of society or culture, if that's the case over there in certain areas. We just don't have that luxury here. So the point of the whole thing is, yes, it's important to cover up, to protect your innocence. Women, if you're not a virgin, you can work to get your purity and your innocence back. As far as abuse and what we can do to be well, We're going to get into that. Sister Shabazz, we want to go to the phone line.
Okay. Let's see. 7176, you're live on War on the Horizon. 7176. Last chance, 7176. All right, I guess they decided to just be listening.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
As far as practical things you can do when you've been over-sexualized and you want to get back to some kind of level of purity. One thing, and I don't know, I just know that I've tried this myself personally, and it works. That's where I'm speaking from. That's my level of expertise right now, is I have experienced this for myself. What happens when your purity, your innocence is not protected? Access has been granted to just anyone, to your body, whether you knew it or not, or whether you intended on that or not. So you have to work at restricting that access now. Whatever age you find yourself at, and you're in this pure moment, or if you're working with your little girl and trying to see how to change things, restrict the access. Restrict what people can see. Cover up. Even I mentioned on that show on From Rape to Wholeness, going on a fast, a clothing fast, and cover all your skin, even your hair, and you'd be surprised how much power you can get walking around, and people can't just see and what do they say, ogle at you, or just lust after you basically. But you restrict that access. Now you have the control of who's seeing what concerning you. You put the power back in your hands. And even for, I would say, from 30 to 60 days, do that. Don't wear form-fitting clothes. Wear things down to where you're not showing anything. And just try it for a little while and see how it works for you. Working out helps, relieving stress, challenging yourself, and that'll up your self-esteem. It means something. Watch your food and your diet. Cutting out meats is beautiful. All the fruits and vegetables you can possibly eat. Cutting out white sugar and white salt. What's happened with us is we've internalized white ways. We've ingested them, and they've become a part of us. We've digested them at this point. So now that's just what's working in us, the things that we've internalized. So we have to change what we're putting in us to change what we're getting and seeing come out of us. Also, get away from the person, if you can, that abused you. And I go into this a lot on the show, and you can find that From Rape to Wholeness show on my Facebook page, to see YaaYaa. But if you can possibly distance yourself, no calls, no contact, no text, no emails, no contact with the person who had something to do directly with your abuse, just so you can kind of get an idea and a handle on how it actually affected you. Because anger and rage is going to come out when you decide to be honest about things that have happened sexually to all of us. This is just what happens. Because that's what it puts in you. When your power is taken as a kid, your control over who can access you as a kid is taken, it builds a rage up. And rage, I'll get into this, rage is what we're seeing on the outside when a woman is choosing to sometimes present herself in certain ways. So restrict that access also from the person who hurt you. Limit. Don't sympathize. Work hard at this. Don't sympathize for how much it's hurting them. How uncomfortable it is that, well, this is possibly a family member who did this to you. It's going to hurt their feelings if I stop talking to them. That just doesn't make sense. We're family. It's not supposed to be like that. But how much time then and energy are you putting into how much you're hurting and how much you have been dealing with hurt and shame and guilt and all these things that went along with what happened to you, but you come second? That's that faulty Christian notion that everybody comes before you and you're last and take care of everyone else. And we all know death comes from that. You cannot take care of other people if you cannot take care of yourself. That's just not true. As Black women, that's one thing we have got to stop. I'm not saying be cruel and cold-hearted, but understand a woman on a plane with her child, the plane's going down, the mother needs oxygen first so she can make sure that child is okay. It can sound harsh, but in that sense, we have to stop and take care of ourselves. And cutting out the person who has literally hurt us is the start. So just consider that. And then, I talk about journaling, really getting your feelings out until you can be ready to get out of you what's been in you. Actually talk to somebody. Let them know what happened. It means something to have that conversation because now you're no longer holding it in. And have it with a responsible African person who can give you a responsible African perspective and what to do next. We gotta take the time and put the energy into healing us, and then we'll start to see changes. And like I said, one thing as far as clothes and the way we present ourselves, first impressions are everything, ladies. This is something that we fail to realize. So when we're putting on certain things, we have to realize what's going on behind the scenes in our minds. What other people, what men in particular, because a lot of times that's what we want. We want attention from men. That first impression is giving something to them. Sometimes, ladies, I'm just saying it's different from what we think that impression is. And we have to look at our own intentions as to why we're doing this. And I say we because I have been there. Sister Shabazz said tennis skirts, tights. I don't even want to start listing pieces of clothing because it becomes embarrassing for where my mind is now. But I've been out there too, and I just wanted to look sexy, and I just wanted, as many dudes as I could see me walk down the street and turn their head and say, damn, I wanted to be the damn girl. That was important to me. Like you said, that's what has been made important for us. Just our body parts, we've been told, are the valuable parts. We don't want the inside, nobody cares. But realizing because our power was taken as women, now we realize that we should have stopped and used our power to wait and choose who we deal with. But we didn't, either on purpose, following the wrong messages, or it was taken from us. So now the position as women we find ourselves in, regardless of how we dress or not, we're trying to get power back over men. But we're using sex and manipulation to do it. So we wear certain things to manipulate this man and get him in a position because in our minds, deep down, whether we realize it or not, we want this man to pay. We want somebody to pay for what's happened to us. And so we don't realize how well we've learned from the white boy in his very war and military heavy practices and tactics. And so, ladies, I heard Dr. Laila Africa say this. When we're choosing clothes and picking out outfits, it's very much war strategy. We want to wear this particular thing to make this particular body part look a certain way, and we'll make men think this about us, or we'll make this girl jealous, or, we just want to be seen in a certain way. That's war. Who's the real enemy here? Who are we really fighting? If white folks got us in this, why are we turning and fighting against each other? Why are we trying to make a black man by lashing out at him? Why are we trying to make him pay? So, that's I don't want to be jumping all around, but another thing, ladies, I think we need to realize when we present ourselves, we get caught in what I like to consider the jump-off zone. We think we're just looking sexy. We think, we're attracting attention. And I think really in our twisted minds, we think I'm going to go out one day, I'm going to have this particular thing on, and I'm going to catch this dude's attention, and he's going to talk to me, and he's going to really start to like me, and we're going to get along great. We're going to have this great relationship. He's going to give me a ring. We're going to have a wedding, and life, we're going to live happily ever after. But the problem comes when you actually talk to brothers, I've learned, about what is really going through their minds. We women, the way that first impression, we get caught in the jump-off zone. So now we know we're great people on deep down on the inside, and we know we deserve all this love and care and all this stuff, but we presented ourselves as jump-off. And only that. So when men see us presenting ourselves a certain way, we now become the jump-off. And now sometimes you can get stuck in jump-off zone, just like you hear dudes talk about getting caught in the friend zone. Man, I really like her, but she just keeps seeing me as a friend. I can't, for the life of me, figure out how to get out of this friend zone. Women, that's the problem we're running into, thinking all men are dogs and why can't I have a good relationship? You kind of got yourself stuck in the jump-off zone. So it's just something to think about. If what you're really looking for is something healthy, then we got to start looking at things the healthy way. On that note, I wanted to hear from brothers. So brothers, if you're listening online, please call in. I really want to hear as far as your opinions of what you see or what you think. Help us Black sisters out. It's not just me, it's people listening. Let us know, what you're really thinking, or say it as though you're talking to your little sister. Or what is it that Black women need to know that Black men, the men who care about us and can help heal us, what do you really want us to know when you see us walking around like this? The number to call is 760-569-7676, access code 948-656#. So, Brother Laila, you want to kind of jump in there as the resident man right now that's here to speak?
I'll be happy to fill in for right now. We're waiting for us. You already heard most of my opinions, but I would like to share with the family a few things. For one thing, I think it's fair enough to add the component of what stage of life are we in, and where are we in that stage? So, what I mean by that is, as a man, I'm realizing in my 20s, some of the experiences that you speak about, observing young women dressing scantily or showing a lot of skin, that experience is different than it is now at, let's say, 38. And I say let's say because I'm 38. That wasn't obvious, I guess. But so I guess it's fair enough to say that what's going on in a brother's mind is going to change as he just kind of generally moves through his age, scale in life. Now, I'm not old by any means, but I'm not 20 anymore. So from that, let's say 10-year span, I can definitely say that for the most part, the idea of what's going through my mind when I'm witnessing a female dressed this way is there is a good bit of confusion about how to approach if there's an interest to approach. The reason I brought up the age range is because any males, I'm going to say male because where we're caught at in this society, we're still working toward manhood in a great deal, in a large way. I am personally still working toward manhood. Let me put it that way. So I'll say any male who is going to approach a female is approaching with an intention, and before the observation, which may not be obvious. So before the observation of this female, what I mean by that is when he leaves his home, he gets dressed to go to the club with his boys.
Right.
He's leaving with an intention already before he's even spotted any female. So, sisters need to understand for starters, if you're in the single world still, if you're putting yourself out there, some brothers that are going to be spotting you are, you're barking up the wrong tree anyway if you're looking for a ring, so to speak, because they've already left their house with a specific intention. You may be able to trick, trap, however you like to call that, with the body parts into trap that man into being with you for some time, but that's not going to be a healthy relationship, and it's definitely not going to lead to anything that we're looking to develop here with re-afrikanization, African liberation, and healthy communities, and moving into healthy nation, that kind of thing. But then again, brothers who may be possibly a little bit older in age, or maybe a little bit more mature, younger in age, that are looking for a potential wife, then yes, you definitely are putting off, I'd say generally, this is generally speaking, you definitely are putting off this brother's approach, the desire to approach you. If you have, and I like Sister Shabazz, I like your post that you put on the Facebook that said that this idea of sexy is very subjective. And unfortunately in this society, with all this subjective, sexy talk that's thrown around and the objectification, what's happened is each man has been touched in different ways. So you're not going to attract, you might, it's kind of hit or miss. Every man might be going out there and you might catch him with a short skirt, but if you're showing cleavage, you're not going to catch him. Just as an example, just as like a practical example, you're not going to catch him. And I'm still using that word catch.
Right.
On top of that, if he sees that much is showing, he may be caught in how to execute the approach. Meaning, he may be thinking, I'd like to approach her. She's pretty. She looks together for the most part. But yeah, she's showing all the body part. And now I got like kind of this short circuit in my brain where I no longer can think about any kind of future or any kind of how's your personality or how much is on your mind. All I'm kind of stuck in is what my body is feeling, what my kind of we talked about this earlier, and I'm trying to bring back how it came to my mind. But there's kind of this like sisters, you may see like a brother like cringing at you, like if he looks at you, and just for a short example, and you might think maybe he's being judgmental about you or saying something negative, but what he's really dealing with, possibly sometimes, and this is going to go for all brothers, but it's happened to me, is it's kind of you cringing because you are a little bit angry that you caught in a situation where you're physically wanting to like and I'm just being real here, like you kind of get caught in this where you have an urge to do this manhandling thing that we've been kind of roped into believing is how to deal with a woman sexually and intimately. You get caught in that urge to do that, but even in the back of your mind, you're trying to approach for some kind of intimacy real on the real side. So there's that kind of thing. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Because I said it kind of fast, and it's very personal. It's a very personal, subjective thing. But maybe somebody out there can relate to the idea that you might have one thing in mind, sisters, when you're showing things, showing your body parts, or you think you're being tactical in a way. But like you say, Sister YaaYaa, why are we launching tactics at each other?
Mm-hmm.
And while I ask that question, the answer is clear. Through re-afrikanization, we're launching these tactics at each other because the white boy put us in this position.
Right.
The white man's constantly objectifying all of nature to destroy it, to control it, and get as much out of it as they can before destruction.
Right.
So, you kind of have the question and the answer at the same time, but we're not really dealing with that, especially from the standpoint that when sisters maybe subconsciously or unconsciously dress in this way, what you're also not dealing with is you have not critically thought through why you're doing this. And the answer is simple. The white boy told you to dress like that. The European fashion designers are telling you to do that. The media, music, Irritated Genies, I talk about this as much as I can. The Finding the Poltergeist series was excellent to point out to us what entertain meant. Those three portions of the word what they have been doing to us. They've been getting in our mind and capturing that and using it and exploiting it. So we're being exploited. That's, I think, at the core of what we're talking about here. We're all being exploited by the European madness, destruction, Jerugu, all those terms. And so we need to come together and really start, like, okay, the each one teach one. Like, okay, so I understand some terms, you understand some terms. If you're in earshot of this radio station, talk to somebody who might not be, and start let's start getting this together. Is what I'm getting at.
Right.
I hope that adds something.
It does, and by the way, Leah, you come from such a it just sounds so healthy what you're saying. You know, as far as this actual fight, this battle that goes on within you that you're describing when you see a woman who automatically, obviously, she's provoking some kind of sexual feeling in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're trying to say, wait, I'm trying to use my brain here. I'm trying to use the big head on my shoulders here to deal with this situation. You are forcing me.
It's real.
You are forcing me to struggle with this other thing. I just wonder, I know there are healthy brothers out there like you. I know there are.
Of course, I'm sure.
But I also know there's some brothers who love to see these women coming because their intention for women, and I'm talking conscious brothers too, sadly enough, they love to see women coming where, it just doesn't even look hard. Okay, well, this looks easy. Let me see, how little game I even need to get this female where it looks like she's trying to take us. I'm going to let her drive. She's already driving with the clothes she's wearing. Sister Shabazz, can we go back to the phone line? I want to hear what people have to say.
Sure. Anonymous caller, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Oh, thank you. I'm just listening at the moment. I just joined not that long ago, so maybe come back to me a little later in the program and I'll have a comment. But I'm really enjoying what I'm hearing.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. 5469, you're live on War on the Horizon.
I'm just listening.
All right.
Thank you.
And that's all the callers for now. We can go back to the anonymous call a little bit later.
Okay. Sounds good. And keep calling too. No pressure, but everybody keep calling. But yeah, I've seen, and I've even heard from a lot of guys, and it was interesting to me how many people would tell me what they thought, but they really wouldn't want to go public with what a lot of black men are really thinking, seeing women out in the street, some of the responses I got kind of ran the gamut. Like, I asked one brother, and he was like, yeah, I look at these girls, and honestly, I'm saying I like it, I already know I'm only out for sex. Like you said, he has this one particular intention in mind before he even leaves the house. And, so it doesn't even matter. He's just looking for the easiest way to get to sex. And sadly, the sisters, we're not even making it hard. We're just, you don't even have to. I heard from guys, it doesn't matter what a woman's wearing. His imagination can take him to, I wonder what she's like and what she looks like under all that. But when she doesn't even give you a lot to work through, I've heard different things. It's good, I'm saying? I'm just going to take advantage and move on. She's a jump off. We both know what this is. Then they wonder why black women wonder why they never stayed, and that's this confusion between the two of us. But also, sometimes I have heard that men become angry. I guess this is kind of what you were talking about, Brother Laila. Frustrated and just angry, like, why? And this blew my mind, but a lot of brothers, their response was, what I think when I see a woman dressed sexy? Why? Why wear tights with nothing long enough to cover anything? You just got everything out like that. Why would you do that? Sisters, they are literally perplexed. And I know as a black woman that haven't been in that situation, we have these reasons why. And we think it's cool, and I dress for me, and I like this, and I don't get no complaints, and all these things we think that justify it. But what we're looking for, again, we're just not getting. Brother Laila?
Yeah, as I'm sitting listening, I feel like I'm putting myself on Front Street right now. But at the same time, I don't want it to come across as that I'm front. Like, I don't want to front, and I want to say that, yes, I'm working toward, and maybe possibly an ideal. I'm working toward this is the man I want to be. These are the things I want to think. But to keep it real, my personal sickness, as I'm dealing with it, just didn't come out in terms of I want to go out and have sex with a bunch of women. And I'm sure there's other brothers out there like that. I really, honestly, haven't talked to a lot, but I know there's at least one in me that doesn't deal with I want to go out and have sex with a whole bunch of women, and I'm going to actually do that. But you got to understand what's happening there. With me, I have through some of the abuses as a young child, some of just the mishandling as a young child, my ability to move to a female has been handicapped. It's been handicapped in the way of I'm a coward in a lot of ways in terms of I see a woman that I'm really possibly even attracted to, maybe even in a healthy way, and I'm so intimidated. I call it intimidation, but thinking really through it, it might even be at a deeper level than that because of all the hurt and all the confusion and all the bad things I've been told about myself through the people who were responsible for my caretaking.
Right.
That really did get implanted and embedded in me. So now I don't even feel there's no valuable feeling in me for a woman. Part of the mishandling is you got to understand, and mothers, sisters out there listening, when you're dealing with, we talked a lot about dealing with your daughters, dealing with your sons. You got to remember that your sons are listening to you and watching you, and you are the model for what. I mean, I came out of you, and until I mature, I'm going to spend most of my life dealing with my sexuality almost in a way of trying to get back inside your womb through all these playoffs. Now, I didn't make that up. I got it through reading different books, and it makes sense. It connects with me in terms of all these childish acts that we carry out on from day to day in our sicknesses. It's almost like we're trying to get back inside our mother's womb, like we're trying to carry out these sexual acts because we weren't nurtured properly, and then we're sitting in a society that everything says, this is sexy and this looks good, and black man, this is what you want. And if you don't have this, in other words, like if you don't have this kind of money, you can't get this. I mean, they go explicitly to this. They go directly to this in some comedy skits. And I was a big stand-up comedy guy, so I used to laugh along with these things, but it's really sad how it gets inside you. Is the idea if you don't have this amount of money, you look at that female, you see that female right there, she's really nice looking, she's shaped well, so kind of inside you can tell she can bear your children kind of thing, that primal feed that you get.
Right.
And but you can't have that. You don't have enough money. You haven't made enough money, brother. You don't look this way. You don't match these images. All these things are going on.
Right.
So since all these things are going on, that embeds itself inside of us. Depending on how we are able to fight through our handicaps or illnesses, how early in life we get in touch with an organization like Back Self or Warner Horizon and start to get ourselves conscious, we're living all those years. And Dr. Marcus says it's interesting, and makes a very interesting point. What I inferred from it was, you spend that much time driving towards something that you're really not here for. You're not here for money.
Right.
You're not here for cars. You're not here for an image. You're here to be loved. And I like that. I don't mean to make that sound too absolute, but I connect with that. So if you're here to be loved, and you spend all that time, 10, 15 years working at a career, college, and you're still only making $50,000 a year, you're not eligible, brother. Sorry.
Right.
You're not eligible, but you spend all that time. Now you have been, through those years, picking up all these habits to take you out of this life.
Right.
Smoking, drinking, philandering lifestyles, all these things. I kind of detracted from the point a little bit, but to get back to it, I'd say for that brother who is impacted that way, that he is coward to approach the female and hasn't worked his way out of that sickness, he then has, in this sick society, all the options when he come home, if he's sexually sparked by you, sister, wearing a short skirt or whatever the hang-up might be, he's got in this sick society a computer he can come home to, pull up an image that looks just like you, You get none of this attention that you thought you were getting. You didn't even know that this man was sparked by you. He's going home now. I'm not saying this is your fault in any way. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying your intention's not being fulfilled. Right. So that's something to think about also.
Wow. So he's going for all this attention and in all different kinds of ways, giving everything up for free. Not even getting not even getting the response or the walk-up conversation that we think we want.
It's happening. It's happening. We're in a very confused society, and there's a lot of confused people. And I know that that I happen to be, I put myself out on Front Street in hopes that first of all, not to front on the air. We're in a real topic. We're trying to drive toward a future health, and so I have that idea of where I'm trying to get to as a man, but I'm also trying to put it out there in a way that, sisters, if this does mean anything to you to hear this, and to hear that this is what's happening, and you didn't think it was. Mm-hmm. Your mind was going somewhere else, and that might change your mind about things so that our children can grow up more healthy, then okay.
Right.
Then so be it.
And let me just say, we appreciate your realness. And the fact that somebody will stand up and say, everything's not this beautiful red, black, and green rose garden, like you said, it's not what it looks like. And I like one thing that you brought up as far as brothers getting the message from so many different places. You have to have a certain amount of money in order to get a woman. That equals pimping. Like, that equals, she's a prostitute. You can win this woman. She's worth not protection. She's not worth, being pure and innocent and having the say over who deals with her body or whatever. She's worth money. You can pay, you can stay. You can pay, you can play. And even bringing up the topic as far as pimping, we don't realize how soon that starts. You have to watch with little girls. Little girls want to be like their mom. Like you said, people have mommy issues, and you took it even to brothers and how that's playing out on such a deep subconscious level. They're actually trying to get back to their mother's womb. I love that. But at the same time, little girls will strive to be like their mothers. And whoever that mother is, not what their mothers say. That sounds good. You tell your little girl, a specific thing or whatever, don't do this or do that. She's watching you more than she's listening to you. So that means whoever mommy's trying to pattern herself after is really who the little baby girl is trying to pattern herself after. So if mommy puts out there that her butt or her shape is what, is most important and what she's really putting out there and what she's getting people with, and this is, what's most important to mommy, or getting a boob job. It's all kinds of crazy stuff that, we're just focusing all this attention on our bodies. The little girl is going to get the message that my body is what's most valuable about me. This is what I need to be working on to get what I want in life. As opposed to, what if mommy's main goal was to be respected and be respectable? What if mommy's main goal was maintaining her dignity at all times and her intelligence? And I love Sister Shabazz always puts out there, it's okay to know domestic things. What if mommy paid attention to those things and how to support and nurture a family, not just please a man sexually? Then that means the little girl thinks that's important too. She's going to put some time and some energy into building these things in her to fight, becoming this prostitute is what it amounts to. And then we even got to talking about makeup and little girls. And what was the question you asked me about the thing that girls do? And
Sure. I asked you, why do you put on nail polish? I think at the time, why do you put on toenail polish? Why do you paint your toenails? Or why do women do that? Well, I was asking you directly to kind of get that that theme going of, hey, we're doing this as decoration, and we started to get on that thing. That's
right.
What I was asking.
And that brought me to the analogy, that's used. If you're trying to sell merchandise, you put it, you make it look real good, you decorate it, you put it in a nice clear case so everybody can see it. So, and I'm not saying, don't wear any makeup. It's not trying to have some kind of level of control over every single thing that you're doing, but just keep in mind, okay, you have this reasoning for doing this, or you haven't even put any thought into it, even worse, the reasons why we're doing this stuff, but your baby girl is looking at you, or your little niece, your cousin, your granddaughter even, because we got grandmothers that's, 35 and 40, you know what I'm saying? And so little girls are watching, and I remember, like it came up in our conversation, Brother Laila and I were having, I remember painting my nails, my toenails and stuff. I remember doing that, because I remember having a doll. I mean, she was my child, so I was able to paint. I was allowed to paint my nails and paint my toes. My mom wasn't having me wearing no makeup. She wasn't having that at all, but I remember painting my nails and painting my doll's nails. And it was, when you asked me why, it flew out of my mouth before I even thought about it. That was the kind of makeup I could wear. Now, it still didn't even click when I said it, that nail polish is makeup. And you were saying, that entices men, and we don't even realize it.
I believe that's the intention. I believe it's decoration to attract the male.
Right.
Ultimately.
So now we're putting our little girls and going even worse than just nail polish, in the same outfits that we think are cute for us to wear, tights and, all kinds of stuff. We put our little girls in this. Because as a woman, you see a miniature outfit of something you would wear, oh my God, that is so cute, I'm about to get that for her, and so now you are sending the message, not just by your example, but you're dressing the child. You are pimping these little black girls. We have to see what we're doing, and it's hard to hear harsh words like that. I'm not pimping my daughter or that's my baby, and no, I'm not. And even if you're not thinking it, it amounts to you look this certain way to attract a man who has a certain amount of money to afford you, which means, therefore, you can be bought.
And just to kind of follow on to that, just shortly, what I was thinking in that is that this is what we need. What I'm trying to get out there is, when I think about the issues I'm going through, trying to straighten myself out. There's brothers out here not trying to straighten themselves out, not even in touch with any idea that there's anything to straighten out. So with that, the reason I'm saying that is, all these decorations, which I don't think we can really argue past the idea that that's a decoration. Whether it's to attract a man or not, okay, that's debatable. One way or another, it's to make you more flamboyant. It's to make you more attractive, it's to make you stick out a little bit more, or to add flair, or whatever it is. And that comes from a fashion. It comes from fashion. Unfortunately, in this society, it comes from European fashion for the most part. We're watching European media, and we're getting these European images pumped into us, and it's being projected onto us. And the reason I bring up the idea of me, not myself, not being and knowing that there's other brothers not even trying, is that our daughters are out there sticking out. They're being flashed out, and they're having attention brought to them, which in this society is unsafe. It's unsafe to do. It's unsafe to do for the family unit. However, cuteness is involved. Until we have our own nation, let's remember that we're in the wolf's den, so to speak. We're among thieves, so to speak.
Right, and even as you say that, it brings to mind in nature, even just on a very nature level, as far as animals go. Like if you look at birds, say the cardinal. Cardinals are known for being real bright red and pretty, but what people a lot of times don't realize is the most brightly colored animals are generally the males. The understanding is, okay, the female cardinal, I think she's like a brownish, reddish brown color, but it's a more muted, downplayed color. And this happens over and over again in nature because the idea is the male should be the one to attract the attention to him. So if any kind of predator is flying around or around to possibly put them in danger, they're going to see the male first, giving the female the time, the female and the child the time to get away. In nature we're put out there, we're not to be put out there as black women. It's the man who's the one for one, whatever the case may be, however you want to equate it, in nature, the woman should not be, like you're saying, the most flamboyantly looked at one, especially not the child.
Absolutely.
In such a sick, predatory society that we're in.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I just want to kind of throw that out there because I really think it is important for us to, the way we come up, there's not a lot of, in addition to not having the rites of passage to support some kind of healthy community, we also, even in the little bit of schooling or education that the average child gets growing up in this country, there's no class that teaches critical thinking. So we're never taught how do we have a thought and then think and analyze that thought.
Right.
And then realize that we just had that thought.
Right.
And those kinds of things. And yeah, it can get to be maybe a little bit overdone at times. But what happens when you don't do any critical thinking is someone can feed you an idea, tell you it's the right thing for you to think, and you can very easily go most of the rest of your life, sometimes your whole life,
right,
thinking that thought.
Right.
Not because it was yours. So what's the point of you living? Someone's giving you your whole image.
Right. And one thing I wanted to know, because I like, again, to have practical solutions. Where can we go as Black women then? Because it's important for us to look good. I'm not beginning to dispute that because I want to look cute. Period. I don't want to walk around just looking like anything or nothing. I still want to look good, but I want to maintain some level of respect. There's got to be a line. I'm drawing the boundaries now that the boundaries weren't there when I was young. So how do we find clothes even? Anybody that can call in, and even if you can't call in, like I said, hit me on my Facebook page for YaaYaa, SISTAHYaaYaa. Hit me on Facebook and send me a link or something. Help us out so we can put it out there for sisters. If you know of a nice place where you can get some conscious-looking clothes, and I don't mean conscious in information that's printed on it. I mean something decent and modest that we can wear that still looks good. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, it's crazy the position that we're in. What we're experiencing is like loss of our own creativity to set standards. Like you're saying, we're mindlessly following these trends. And sadly, we're mindlessly following Euro woman-hating trends. We cannot think for ourselves. We cannot, make our own clothes in a lot of instances. And there's a lot of creative, beautiful, intelligent Black women out there. Where can we go? Sister Shabazz, I know you had thrown something out to me. Can you throw some ideas out for the people as far as where we can go for some decent clothes?
Sure. You just have to be creative. It's not hard if you're creative. If you're interested in homemade, customized clothing, there's a site called Etsy that has jewelry and homemade clothing, skirts, shirts, all kinds of things. That you can look for more Afrocentric type stuff or just modest stuff. But really, most of my clothing, if I don't make it, because I really don't like to sew, I do it if I have to. I go in regular stores, especially in wintertime and fall. I just look for long skirts, or I'll get slacks, jeans, things like that. And I just try to get a shirt that's not tight fitting, doesn't have a low neckline. So I'll go to Macy's, I'll go to Old Navy, I'll go to some of those, hood stores if they have something cute. Just get in the habit of looking for things that are not going to be really revealing, and it's hard to do that during summertime and springtime. It's really better to do that during winter, or especially like in January, they're having a lot of clearance sales to get rid of their winter stock. And so that's really when I do it. I don't do too much special. They do have, and this is going to sound crazy, but like I said, you have to be creative. They have some Islamic clothing stores that have a more westernized look, and I'm not saying go look like some Orthodox Muslim, because I don't want to look like no Orthodox Muslim, but sometimes they'll have a wider leg pants or a long skirt or something like that, and you can just get that piece and put it with something else. So you're not looking like no Orthodox Muslim or nothing like that. But it will give you that coverage if you can't find a long skirt or some wide leg pants or something like that.
Okay, so I wanted to ask this question. I was debating about it. You mentioned low necklines. What do you think are some decent rules that Black women can follow as far as looking nice? And I want to hear from any brothers, any sisters out there, still whatever you think about, whatever we've talked about. And from Brother Laila also, if we have this particular man around easily available, what are some good things? In fact, we'll start with you, Brother Laila. What are some things you think women possibly should steer clear of as far as our presentation and dressing?
Okay, so definitely any low-cut shirts. I'll give you the reason too. Mm-hmm. So the low-cut shirts. What's happening in fashion? One of the problems that I've been noticing that's not overly noticeable with following European fashion is what they do. What the system does, the white boy does, is they don't just put out clothing and then say, go choose what you want to wear.
Right.
They put out clothing and then they put ads on TV. They put in the actual sitcoms and all these things. Mm-hmm. They highlight those fashions and actually model the plots and settings, the characters. Mm. They model the acting in the characters to then draw the attention, paint the picture that is going to, so they're driving the behavior.
So you can put yourself into that situation.
Absolutely. You're already set up. Mm. You're already set up.
Right.
And the men we're already set up too. If we're caught in watching the media that much and those kinds of things, and we haven't really brought some critical thinking to our minds, right, to say, wait, is this really what I want? Mm-hmm. Is this really what I'm going to do based on this thought?
Right.
No. So we have to realize that the low-cut shirts, you start to notice on the commercials, they start to model these scenarios, mm-hmm, that point out these things. So low-cut shirts, absolutely, if the creator has put you together very well, and let's say he's blessed you extra special in the rear hind parts, please do not wear. One of the things that I know is just very subjective. Do not wear tight-fitting jeans that are going to show the lower portion of your back. This is a very intimate section of the body, and so as a general rule, those parts that are most intimate, cover them up. Those and intimate meaning those things that have you generally when you're talking sex, those areas of the body that are highly sensitive to touch. Okay. Those are if you speak about an intersexual experience, those are the parts that become kind of accentuated when you're with an intimate partner. And so when you see those parts uncovered in public, those are the parts that make that spark. So it's a practical idea. If you are touched in these areas during sex, cover it up. Just general rules. So I mean, other specific ideas, high shirts that show the lower portion of the back, a midriff, what they call midriff, right? I think I read that in Bob Rudy's The Sex Imperative. He's got all kind of terminology in there, but these platform shoes, we were talking about how these platform shoes kind of shape the body in a certain way to put you on display. High platform shoes, stilettos, exactly, stilettos, and things like that. That just put you on display without necessarily displaying the skin. Not just the skin, it's how you appear as a whole. And again, in a society we have been objectified, body parts have been objectified, so it's subjective as to what man is going to catch attention to with what body part you're exposing. So ultimately, I just go back to that thing. job, you're out to go shopping, why have it uncovered?
Right.
Especially if you're not living. No, then just leave it. I just leave it like that.
Yeah.
Why have it uncovered?
Okay. Wow. Straight from a brother's mouth. Sister Shabazz, what do you think? Did you want to weigh in on that?
I can only speak for what my personal standards, and I know people differ. For me, I like to wear skirts or wide leg pants. If it's a skirt, I like it to come maybe just a couple inches above my ankle. I don't like showing off calves and thighs and all that kind of stuff. As far as I don't show cleavage, so if I have a shirt that has a lower neckline, I'll layer another shirt underneath it with a higher neckline. I try to cover my arm just about down to the elbow. I like the elbow, but the shirts are kind of not shaped like that anymore, so at least almost to the elbow. And what I'm doing a lot now during spring and summer is wearing maxi dresses, and a lot of those are sleeveless, so I'll just layer a tight fitting tee under that just so that that's covered. Definitely if I wear a shirt, I do my best to try to have that covering the rear, so you're not walking and people looking at that. If you do that, you're pretty good, I think. Some people may not want their skirts that long, or they may not have a problem with showing off their arms, but that's just my standard of what I try to do.
Okay, and I agree with a lot of what you said. The question has come up a couple of things as far as, like you said, showing arms, because some people think that that's really like, okay, you're really pushing it now. I can't show my shoulders, But I've heard from some men that you're kind of leading up to your breast, really. If you follow your arm past your armpit, guess what you find? You know what I mean? And how fashion even is meant to draw your eyes to certain things, certain body parts. So, just kind of be aware of when you look in the mirror, or ask a man, I would say, a man who has your best interest at heart, not just trying to see you out there looking crazy, sisters. Just ask him what he thinks about that, and be able to hear it. That will encourage him to say it. Because if he knows you're going to jump all over him, he might not tell you the truth. But just ask brothers. Because I've learned a lot asking and polling and questioning a lot of brothers about what they think on this subject. Another thing that I try to do too, sometimes, like you said, it takes creativity, but layering, like you mentioned. And sometimes things can look kind of drab if you got, just long shirt or whatever. But if you kind of layer it, it adds more color sometimes. It can kind of, it adds dimension. And even to play with different cuts and things like that, to not be stuck in one paradigm of fashion or one trend, and just work with your creativity. I started drawing some pictures of things that I want to see, and, dabbling with the idea of possibly even selling these things into fruition, you know what I mean? But just allowing myself the creativity and not boxing myself into what everyone else is doing. And as you deal with your stuff, you build your confidence, that becomes even easier. So, did we have anybody else that wanted to say anything before we kind of start to wrap up?
No, ma'am. I think the anonymous caller dropped the line, so we should be all good for tonight.
Okay. Well, if you had something that you weren't really sure you wanted to say, or you kind of want to, give your opinion on the show, feel free, like I said, once again, hit me on Facebook, message me, whatever the case may be. We definitely want your feedback as far as the show goes. And if you have other ideas for shows, because we're going to be talking about the state of the Black woman, I think for as long as it takes. I think it's a very important thing we need to keep dealing with and see what it is that Black women are dealing with. And as the Black woman cleans herself up and the Black man helps, and we, our whole community is going to be better for it. Black woman, you get healed, you'll be surprised the Black men who are going to decide to automatically, I need to straighten up. Something got to give. This woman that got herself together, I have to either fall in line if he's with you, or, something's got to give. So when the Black woman starts to straighten up, and we've heard a lot of our scholars and people who love us say this before, we get it together, everything else is want people's input on any of the shows. We'll be posting even more links to past shows if you haven't heard any, or heard some that we've done in the past, and I'll be putting those up there. But we really want your feedback whenever you get around to it, if ever you decide, or today. What is it that you're getting from A Taste of the Southwest? What would you like to hear? What, did you want to add? Or I think you were wrong and this is why. And I want to hear all of that. We're all family, and it's not always going to be, like I said, red, black, and green roses. You know what I mean? We got to deal through our stuff to get better. So on that note, thank you to everyone for listening and for keeping in touch and for participating when you do, and just for kicking it with us tonight. Next week we'll be off, and then the following Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, we will be back on One Horizon Radio with the Taste of the Southwest. I'm Sister YaaYaa, and
I'm Brother Laila.
And we just want to say good night, Sister Jabaz. Thank you so much, my sister.
You're welcome.
For all your help. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Perception of me